So here's the bottom line. High value photographers are low risk to clients. So what does it mean to be a high value photographer? Honestly, it has little to do with the amount you charge for your photography, but it does mean a lot to the clients in the sense that you are now very low risk. Think about it, a photographer who doesn't charge very much could still be a high risk photographer. So what makes for a low risk photographer? Well, I'll talk about that in a moment. But let's think about this. A high value photographer brings down the risk of hiring them because they have developed a number of things. One being their brand. They've maybe been around for a while and have proven their worth. They have a portfolio that proves that they can do what the potential client wants. There are many things you can do to develop yourself as a high value photographer. Maybe it's your personality, your organization skills. Maybe it's because you are well insured, taking down the risk if something goes wrong. There are many, many reasons that you could be considered a high value photographer, but your goal as a photographer is to find as many of those reasons as possible so you can increase your value in the marketplace alongside of separating yourself from the competition. So what problem does your photography solve? I actually have a video on that related to value at the end of this video, so check it out. So can a photographer charging $10 an hour be a high value photographer? Absolutely. Again, it has little to do with how much you're charging. Now, they may be undervaluing their photography and probably should charge more, but the risk is low if they do a good job. If they can prove, if the photographer has the portfolio to prove to the client, the potential client, that they're going to do a really good job and they have a track record and everything that that person needs to prove to themselves that this photographer is low risk, well then a $10 an hour photographer can be a very high value photographer, but obviously underpricing their worth. A number of years ago, I lost one of my very best clients. A client I had for about 3 or 4 years. They were consistent, they paid well, and they were really an important part of my photography business. But I lost that client to another photographer. Not because they undercut my rate. The fact is, they were 3 times my rate, and I still lost to them. Why? Because they brought some things to the table that I could not. They had maybe some style issues, some approaches to photography. They were doing things that I was not doing that had more value to that client, to other people within the organization, and my contact was overruled and I lost that opportunity. It's a good lesson. The fact is, value means different things to different people, and obviously the value of this photographer was more important than price. And that's a good thing. That was a situation where I was actually happy. I wasn't happy, but I was okay with losing the opportunity. Because it's horrible when you lose an opportunity to somebody who is undervaluing their work. But if somebody has really high value and the client sees it, well, you know what? They win, and that's a good thing for our industry. So how can a photographer charge even $25,000, $50,000 a day or more? Well, there are photographers who do that, and it really is their brand in most cases. Your brand is your reputation, and so you need to build that over time. As I've mentioned many times before in other videos, competition is irrelevant when it comes to specifically photography, but for a lot of different industries, it's irrelevant. There is so much competition that if you are worried about the competition, if you're chasing the competition, you're going to go out of business because you're just going to run your business into the ground. Your job is to continuously improve your brand and find the people who want you. Just like the photographer who beat me out with 3 times the price. They found a really good company who wanted them and was willing to pay the price. And there are still companies out there who are looking for specific styles, looking for specific personalities, and maybe bring some certain level of production to the table that maybe you're not currently doing now. But that doesn't mean you can't build up over time and build your reputation, your brand, to earn and command the fees that you deserve. So what makes hiring a specific photographer low risk? Well, let's step back and think about this. Hiring a photographer is a risky proposition. Photographers can be really expensive. Photographers are often capturing images that are only going to be available one time. Think weddings. A wedding is not going to be recreated for a photographer's photographs. And also, people hire photographers for other people, and they want to look good. Maybe someone is hiring a photographer for their boss, for a small business advertising campaign, or a big agency campaign, and that person's job is on the line. So that means you as a photographer needs to be as low risk as possible and to convey that low risk the best you can. And what most photographers do is lower their price. If their price is lower, then the risk to hire them is not as great. However, if you can prove that you are still a low risk if they spend a lot of money, then you win the game. You have developed your brand, your reputation. You do what you say you're going to do. Your portfolio represents what you're going to create for that potential client. You deliver your work on time. You have referrals. You have people singing your praises. There are many things that can help make you low risk. One of the things that I had done is, and still do to this day, is I've developed my per image pricing strategy. I think per image pricing helps make hiring me a much lower risk because the value of what I'm doing is put on the photographs and not my time. And if the client does not like the photographs, they don't pay for them. Now, there are many ways to go about that, but I have confidence in the way I present my work and pricing structure and business practices to the community. That's how I have stood out over time, and it's worked very well for me. There are many ways, and maybe you can think of your own unique way that decreases the risk of hiring you. That will help you stick out and separate you in the marketplace. So why is branding so important for a photographer? Well, as I mentioned, there's a lot of competition out there, and you need to be able to forget about that competition and just look for the people who want you. But you have to develop a brand that people actually want. Maybe this brand involves a specific style. Again, your brand is your reputation, so there are a number of things that you can apply, a combination of things, as we like to refer to as the combination code, that you can bring together that separates you from the competition and builds a reputation of trust that people want. I was talking with a creative director the other day, and he talked about how, photographers were coming and going, and they would often have to bid everything out and just take the lowest price. And I kind of interrupted. I said, yeah, but when the client wanted that hot photographer in Italy, you just went there and got that photographer no matter the price, right? Exactly. And he agreed. Absolutely. Because they wanted that person's reputation, brand. They wanted the certain look and style. You want to be that photographer in Italy or Germany or somewhere in LA or New York, whoever that photographer is that you know commands a specific price. It's not because they're probably that much better than you. It's because they have taken the time, certainly to improve their skills, but there are a lot of photographers who probably have similar skills, but they developed their brand, which allows them to earn the money that they deserve. So why do you want to be a high-value, low-risk photographer? So you can keep photographing, so you can grow your business. Continuously educate yourself, develop your photography, develop your brand, and become a high-value photographer. Because if you are a high-value photographer, now there are many photographers who charge a lot of money who may not be high-value photographers. They may just charge a lot of money and maybe the clients don't know better and they have a career. And I'm not calling out names. There's no reason to. We all know there are people like that in every single industry. They have their way. They're really good salespeople, for example. And hey, that's fine. That's their business model. But if you want to be a photographer that lasts for the long term, you need to develop a high value strategy that brings down the risk to hire you. And when you can do that, you are on the winning track to a successful photography career. Now here's the next video on value that I promised you.